Hi everyone, Mr. Coda back again with another live dev interview. This time I'm joined by Jason Booth, that madman creator behind OneBatch, Microsplat, and oh yes, Megasplat. This was taken from my live Twitch stream on www.twitch.tv/themysticcoder. It was my anniversary of being affiliated, and we had over $11,000 worth of assets and games that we could give away, and interviewed 13 different developers. It was a lot of fun. It lasted over 16 and a half hours and took a lot out of me. If you want to know how much, well, sit back, enjoy the shenanigans, and I'll see you all in a moment. Jason Booth,
How you doing?
welcome to the stream. Let me just do a sound check because we didn't even have time to do a sound check beforehand.
Last time we did this, it took a while to get everything working.
Took a couple of hours, didn't it?
I don't know. I just remember it being a mess.
We don't make mistakes.
Oh,
we have
it
happy
says a phone with a
accidents.
sub. Thank you, buddy. Let me share my screen with you, Jace.
So I just realized if you're using 2018.3, I don't think we can do
We
a
don't make
demo just
mistakes.
because
We have happy
they changed the
accidents.
prefab system and there's something going on with that.
Oh, the old prefab system.
Yeah, 2018 has been quite a lot of work for people doing assets.
All right, let me hang on. Let me load up a new project then. Let me get rid of all the deviant stuff off my desktop.
So I'll need to fix that.
So I've got some 2018.2 projects.
If you have that on your machine, you can load up, just make a new project and import it in for that.
Cool. Right.
Or I could share my screen.
Well, the whole point. Tell everyone what OneBatch is, because you've done a marvelous job promoting it and getting it out there.
Yes, I think I maybe posted a forum thread on it.
in Spanish.
Right. Only Japanese. So basically I built OneBatch for two reasons. One, people were kind of doing this with Megasplat anyway, but it was a very convoluted workflow to do it. And I also had a project I was working on, contracting on, and they had just kit bashed a bunch of art assets from the store, and so their draw calls were through the roof, and they were using static batching, and so it made sense to try to combine things more. And so what OneBatch does is it basically takes a list of prefabs, it extracts all the meshes and materials from them, and then basically builds you basically swaps all the materials with a custom shader so that it'll build texture arrays for all the textures that are being used. And then essentially now a whole bunch of very different assets that have different textures and different material settings and things like that can all be drawn as one material. And so there's some obvious limitations to this, but the basic idea is to take some scene that's been kit bashed that uses a standard shader and take all of its assets and combine it into texture arrays so that now you can get fewer draw calls. Basically, the way it works is that it finds all the textures, puts them into texture arrays, so you end up with, if you have like 20 diffuse maps and 20 normals or whatever, they'll all be in texture arrays. And then it bakes indices for this into the vertices of the mesh, so it replaces your mesh. And it'll do this all on like a live scene, so you can actually just swap back and forth. You can restore if there's something wrong or anything like that. And then it takes all the material settings, things like tint, color, normal map, strength, all these little settings you have that make you have to have a different material, and it bakes those into a lookup table, which is on just a texture on the GPU. And that way the shader can retrieve that information, and even though these are the same materials, they can still have all your material settings from the standard shader. So they can still have unique tints, unique whatever. And one of the big advantages of this over like the traditional technique to do this is to atlas, right? So you see this all the time. People take a whole bunch of assets and they break up a texture page and they have like, okay, my brick is over here and my wood is down here and the texture, and I'll UV everything to match, which obviously takes a long time. But the problem with that technique is you can't really tile textures. So because these are in texture arrays, it still works with tiling textures, and the whole process is sort of automated. There's some caveats to this as to whether it makes sense for you to do this or not, which I can go over. One is that when you combine things into texture arrays, all the textures have to be the same format and size. So if you can't really do this, or you can do it. The packer will make everything the same size. But if have a 32 by 32 texture, and then you have like a 1024, and you set the final thing to 1024 for the output, it's gonna up-res that 32 by 32 texture and waste memory. It also means because they're an array, a texture array is treated as one resource on the GPU. So if you load one of these objects in your scene, you're going to load all those textures with it. So the idea of this is it's really good for kit bash levels where you have basically taken all these little pieces and put them together, and then basically you take that all those sets and you grab the stuff you're using out of them and drop them in this, and then make it into like one asset, right? Or one asset set that you load. Right now, the system is very tied to the standard shader because it basically remaps the properties from the standard shader to these texture lookups in the shader, and it comes with a version of the standard shader that you use, which is just basically rewritten to look up this data in the right places. I have amplify shader nodes for it, so you can actually roll your own custom shaders and use the data.
We got those guys on later.
Yes, but if you want it's pretty easy if you want to use a different shader editor to, write those nodes or whatever. But if you want to write custom shaders, you can. You just have to know how to look up the information from the vertices instead of getting it from, somewhere else. So yeah, I don't know. You're importing now, or
well, we're in. I forgot to do one thing. I forgot to ask chat: is the audio good? Could anyone actually hear anything you just said? That should have done that at the start, shouldn't I?
Nobody can hear it.
Nobody heard a single word you said. Apparently.
Oh.
Audio is no good. We couldn't hear a word. Not clear. Not good. No, it's not perfect. Damn it! Damn this professionalism of which I'm cursed with.
But you can hear me.
No, yeah, everyone was fine. Everyone says the sound was good. Sound is very clear. Audio is good to go. Yes, the audio was good. The audio is fine.
Oh, just messing.
Just messing with you. Just actually also test to see if you're reading chat as well there, Jace.
I'm not reading chat. I'm talking to you.
No, you go. Can't do two things at once.
Well,
not at our age. Not at our age, we can't. I've got you in OneBatch, and I've loaded in Quantum Theory's Rome 2. The stream seems laggy. That would be because of two things. One thing being my children banging on the wall, and the other when you're doing stuff in Unity and streaming at the same time, or your CPU dies, and the kids have just snuck the door open. So hang on 1 second.
Isn't this like a 12-hour stream you're doing?
14, mate. 14. 14, and I've taken off the mature thing. So for everyone who was a bit laggy, yes, we dropped a lot of frames while Unity was doing its thing, but we're okay now. We should be fine. We've actually didn't you give me some prezzies of this to give away?
I did. You did. If you're on 2018.3, you'll have to wait till I can do a patch. A change of the prefab system has clearly changed something, so I'll have to figure that out.
Where did I stick your thing? So how do I've got this Rome 2, and I put Rome 2 in. Oh, Sengoku, thank you for the biddies. Rome 2 does seem to be very texture-y based. Look, there's loads of stuff all over the place. He's got amplify shader material, custom shader things he's done as well, I think, and he's got these. Where are they? Where on earth are they? These things, these strange things that he used. If you like, so I'm assuming that's all been used to make his textures and thingies. So I thought
Well,
this
those
might be
are-
a good candidate for OneBatch.
Let's try it on the example stuff first because if this is using custom shaders,
This one
then
here, yeah. This thing
OneBatch
here.
is designed to work with the standard shader.
Right, let's do that one then.
Yeah.
So I do this, what? Test starch?
Oh, that's
examples.
not put in there. Go into examples, yeah.
Okay.
Sometimes I'm testing stuff and leave stuff around. So if you zoom out on this scene a little bit, it's just a example scene or whatever. And if you bring up the stats windows, you can see the draw call count.
Yeah, where am I? Hang on. Come to my game thing. Here we go. Stats. Here we go.
Are you there?
Yep,
Okay.
Yep.
So if you look at this, I think yeah, real stats. Maybe try that.
Hang on, I lost you. I lost you for a moment. Discord went weird. Do you want me to put up the profiling thing?
No, just hit play.
Okay.
The stats went. It was fine. Seems like keep dropping, but so let's see. Set pass calls, and can't really see on your screen.
All right. You might be better having the stream up as well, but muted, so you can actually see stuff as well. We got.
I'm looking at your video.
8 batches saved by batching 99.
Right. So I think this may actually be in its combined state. Click on the on one of the spheres. You can press stop.
Now get off of lighting. Here's a sphere. Oh, it would be nice if I was in
You're
scene
in
mode.
the view.
Yeah, I know. All right. So where should I look?
Okay, so right now, see, it's using the OneBatch standard shader.
Oh, okay, here we go. Yeah, standard shader.
So this is basically a custom version of the shader that you'll see it uses texture arrays. And so now this scene is in its optimized state. I think the asset store has not gotten my latest for some reason. But if you go into, you see the combined config directory?
Yep.
Select the example there. No, below it, the scriptable object. And now go to the very bottom.
Yep.
And hit revert.
Ooh.
So now it's using if you click on one of these, you'll see it's using the regular shader.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. And now if you hit play, you're going to see a much larger count of draw calls.
Let's do this.
So we were 9 before, I think.
We got 19 saved by batching 88.
And then set pass calls is what?
19.
Right. So now we're going to show you how it works. Press play again to stop.
Yep.
And select that config, the example config.
That thing?
Yep. So let's go ahead and if you go to the top, do clear all entries.
Oh, wait, okay. Ah! Okay.
Okay. So if you open up the list of prefabs at the very top,
Yep.
that's the list of objects that are in the prefab directory here. And then if you do extract from prefabs, this is actually going to scan through and decide how all this stuff will be combined.
Okay. So I can just grab my whole prefab folders and just drag them onto here, and then it will automatically update. So you don't have to sit there one by one, dragging them in.
Yeah.
Going inside.
I mean, you got to use the little lock the inspector trick, you know.
Lovely.
Yeah, so hit extract from prefabs.
Okay.
So now what it's done is this is all the sort of materials it found that are unique that it's going to combine, and then if you hit combine, it's actually going to pack all the textures that it found and these unique so you'll notice the brick albedo. There's actually 2 materials here in the list as brick and brick normal strength. Now there's a weird update bug that I haven't figured out how to fix yet, but if you move this the game view, it should probably update this.
Well, like just this, or actually move it out?
Oh, not doing it. No, it didn't update it right away. You might have an old version. I swear I keep having this problem with OneBatch where I upload new versions. Asset Source says it's released it, and then it seems like it's an older version. Because you had to fix a compile error, right?
Yeah.
See, that's already been fixed and submitted to the store. So I'll have to talk to them and see if I can get them to flush it or something, because it's having this older bug. But anyway, ignoring the fact that the color didn't get converted correctly, now you can see in your config here you have all your settings that you would normally have on your materials. They've been converted over. In this case, they've been converted wrong because you're on an old version. But basically, this is where you can go through each material up from your original material and edit them now if you still want to edit them, which is a little different, right? Because you have essentially one material that you're using for all of these objects and one set of these texture arrays, but you might still want to change some data about
Let's have one more.
the materials.
I just had a heart attack because some response just followed, and I completely forgot that I got the audio on, and I'm sitting here with my face like right up against the monitor to look at these in detail, and this audio just came in my ear. Thank you so much for the follow, but I may have just weed myself.
So essentially the idea of this is that you can take an asset pack or a bunch of asset packs. You can look at your level, figure out what you're using, grab it all, stuff it in when your level is done, like really late stage optimization, like you're practically done with the game and you got too many draw calls. And then you can combine all this stuff into these texture arrays and lookup tables and then reduce your draw call count. So the project that I was on, that I wrote this for, I think in one level we were looking at draw calls that were in the like 2,000 range, and this got us down to like 800 by running this process, which is pretty good. So if you're not familiar with how wide draw calls and what they are, basically every time a draw call happens is when the CPU has to set up rendering for the GPU, and that it tends to be a bottleneck on games. So on a lot of games, on a PC, you're looking at like 2,000 a frame. On a mobile device, you might be having to get under 200 or 300. And there's lots of reasons why Unity will have to submit more draw calls. It's not just differences in materials or things like that. It's also lighting information. So I have a pretty extensive documentation in OneBatch about what it does, which is available. You can actually go to the asset and look in the documentation right there. So there's a link to it. So if you're interested in this, I would suggest reading that, because it depends on the particulars of your scene as to whether this makes sense as an optimization, right? Depending on how you're doing your lighting and things like that, it may actually not really matter that much, or it might be a huge win. So OneBatch is kind of an interesting product. It's still in beta. I'm still working out kinks in it. And I may add like SRP support for it at some point. We'll see. It depends how popular the scriptable render loops become and stuff like that.
How long did it take you to get to this point, from like 0 to where we are now?
With OneBatch?
Yeah.
It's about 3 days of work.
No, shut up. Come on.
Yeah. So yeah, I spent about 3 days on it, used it for the project I was working on. And then I probably spent like, a couple hours uploading it to the store or whatever, kind of tweaking some things, and I've fixed some bugs along the way. I have something to do in 2018 because of the 0.3 because of the prefab change, so I'll have to fix that.
What about 2019? Have you even started to look at that?
Oh God, no. They're still in alpha. I'm not going to look at that. I mean, until I have to. The thing is Unity actually does a really good job of making things compatible, because they actually have that whole script updater system and stuff like that. So they're actually like, it's pretty good in Unity, but it's still a lot of work just maintaining assets through changes. Especially when they're changing like things like prefab workflow, or in my case with all the train stuff I do, changing the way the train system works. So I tend to avoid alphas and betas until the beta gets really close to release. Unfortunately, like 2018 beta, they broke a bunch of terrain stuff. They broke texture arrays, actually.
Yeah.
and they didn't fix it until the actual release version. So if your products use texture arrays, which all of mine do, and a lot of the big terrain shaders now do, then your product didn't work in the entire beta period, and you had no time to test. And so then basically it came out, and people were like, "How come this doesn't work in 2018.3?" And you're like, "Okay, well, they released the version today that fixed the bugs that were blocking us testing." It's like you got to give. So, but that's part of the problem, moving Unity forward, and they're so like I kind of wish they had baked 2018.3 a little. Huh?
It's part of the joy of using Unity. I spoke with somebody, he will remain unnamed, Aquarius Max, who still uses Unity 5.56 something. That's what he uses.
For products or
for when he's making his assets, that's what he uses. He puts his stuff together in Unity 5.
Yeah, I'm still on 5.6 for most of my assets because that's the minimum it runs. So you have to develop in that.
Yeah, but you use the other stuff. He doesn't even feel the need. He's like, no, so does it work in 2018? He goes, I just use Unity 5 still. I'm like, what, dude? Come on.
I mean, it depends on what you're doing, right? Like if it's working for what you're doing, then like new bugs are
he's in
problem,
the chat
right?
now.
Like,
he's in the chat. Let's poke him and shout him to come out. Because the things that really pulled me up to 2018 for some of my own development is the job system stuff. Yeah, and doing all that kind of stuff yourself. There was a debate. I remember when it was first getting announced, and there was all those people on the forums saying my own version is better. I'm not going to use Unity's one and blah blah blah. But
not with Burst.
I don't see the as
soon as you have the Burst compiler, it's like forget using anything else.
If you're making a game now in Unity and you want it to be performing well on modern little computers and powerful computers, and you want it to be working decent on mobile phones, whatever you're doing, I think 2018 we're at the point now where it's good. I've stopped using 2017. Not point 3. I'm still on 2018.2 when I'm doing stuff.
Right.
But I think we're still a way away from being, the Unreal killer or the CryEngine killer that, people are hoping that Unity is going to become one day. But we're getting there. It's coming. It's making the right noises.
I mean, if you... Again, it's all in how you use it, right? Like, and what you need to do. Like, if you're making a match 3 game, Unity was fine in 4.0. But if you're, trying to push graphical fidelity, then you're going to want to write your own SRP or, have a render engineer that controls your rendering, and you're going to want to, move as much into jobs as possible. The ECS system is not quite there yet, but the job stuff is pretty sweet overall, and it's really nice actually. It used to be that you had to write DLLs and go out in C++ and make things fast, and now you can actually write stuff in C#, which is a very comfortable language to write in get really performing code.
Comfortable. It's a language that holds your hand and strokes your hair and tells you everything's going to be all right.
Yeah, I mean, it's, like any language, it's got its things, but in terms of, compared to a lot of other stuff, it's pretty clean. I really like working in it.
I just realised something, Jace. I just realised there's a load of people in chat who've never met you before.
Oh.
I just realised one thing. Actually, there's 2 things that I realised. One, Telia just told me off again. And for those, that's how I pronounce her name, Telia. I am always nice to Max. Max knows that I love him, but those who don't know Aquarius Max would not know that not only is he an amazing artist, but he's a guy who pretends like he doesn't know how to code, but he's made games in Unity that I would dream of being able to make. So yeah, he's not just an artist, he's also becoming a very talented programmer. So I'd like to see him, what he can do in the latest versions of Unity. But Jace, tell people that in like brief words, introduction about your experience, your background, because when I had you on the stream last year, I fell off my chair with the games and projects that you've worked on in the past. My God, man. Please tell the world.
Okay, I've been in the industry for about 25 years or so. The first 10, I started a company with some people called Turbine Entertainment, which was one of the first producers of MMOs. We did Asheron's Call, was kind of our, it was the first game any of us had made, which is kind of crazy to be like, let's make the MMO and like pull it off before MMO was even a term. So we were a little crazy, but we managed to do that. And then I spent 10 years at Harmonix doing all the like Guitar Hero and Rock Band games and Karaoke Revolution and Fantasia and all the other stuff out of there. Was in charge of their whole engine technology. So basically, that was actually one of the most fun things. We had an aging tech platform that we built Guitar Hero in, and when we wanted to do Rock Band, we needed something. Actually, we did most of Rock Band in that engine as well. And then we realized we were going to go into do some games that were not at all like Rock Band, and we needed a more modern engine. And so I took over, and I had a team with I guess it was about 12 people most of the time, and we built our own engine from the ground up, keeping some of the best bits. So that was really fun. And then I spent 5 years doing mobile stuff for a company called Disruptor Beam, and we pushed a lot of high performance graphics on really crappy Android phones and stuff like that. And now I'm doing a lot of contracting work for companies. I basically, most of my bread and butter comes from either doing graphical stuff or coming in and optimizing things. And in my spare time, I make a bunch of assets. I have, I guess I have technically like 14 things on the store right now, though it really is like 4 things. So I have a Microsplat, which is the train shading system, and then I have Megasplat, which is an older product but does terrains and meshes and allows for hundreds of textures and stuff. And then OneBatch, which is kind of a newer thing I've been messing with, and Cascade, which I did the shader for. So in my spare time I like doing shader stuff because it's fun, and playing around with stuff on the store.
Shader guru.
I don't know about all that, but I'm pretty good with understanding how to make things fast on a GPU, and yeah, a lot of tricks. So I actually talk about a lot of the tricks and stuff that I did for Disruptor Beam in my Unite talks. There's 2 of them, and I think they have a lot of really cool tricks in them if you're a collector of techniques to make things go fast. So,
all right, bro. Talking about Aquarius Max. Yeah, Lexi Wayne saying write a book. Digital Zombus saying OneBatch also helping combine different materials on the same prefab ? I've got character models with a lot of different materials on them.
Yeah, it'll work on skin mesh renderers, and so like for instance, if you knew, hey, we're always going to have these like 5 characters in our scenes, you could actually take all 5 characters. Combine all their sub meshes and everything into, you'd basically end up with one material for all 5 characters, even if it had pants and whatever, and you could still actually, if they had tint colors and things, control those all independently, even though they're the same material.
All right, I've loaded in Aquarius Max's Mega Medieval Mega Pack. Somebody put an exclamation mark Max in chat. And he was getting 563 batches. And
you're going to try this live?
And I'm going to try this live.
Okay. It's going to be a little tricky, but what would be best is if we knew a subset of hey, these are all the solids, right? Because there are some, you can't combine an alpha map texture and a non-alpha mapped in the same material, right? Because it have to both be alpha, and you don't want that. So if you can find I don't know where the direct prefabs are.
So we've got These are in the tower pieces. So Max is sorry, I stepped away for a bit. We've been talking about you, Aquarius Max, and you've been away from your PC. Unacceptable. So, these look alright.
He was talking smack about you.
Can I just chuck all these in?
Sure. So what you want to do is create a config.
Done it.
So right click.
Done it, baby. Right clicked.
Oh,
and I went config OneBatch, and I did config. I'm on there. Scriptable objects,
config,
man. I love them.
Inspector.
I've got a pre-locked inspector here. We're
Go select all the
checking for
prefabs
time.
and drop them in.
Now, can I chuck the folder in, or do I have to chuck them in? Like,
Unfortunately, you have to select them.
oh come on, that's unacceptable, Jace. I have to do that. I have to do an extra one click. Oh, mate.
Yes.
All right, come on. Okay, they're in.
Okay, so now extract from prefabs.
Doing it.
Now here it says, did you get any errors in the console or anything?
I got a
It says it's
warning.
only 2 textures.
No errors.
Okay, so it says there are only 2 textures. It may be that these are like carefully put onto an atlas.
Well, let's just say one thing. Aquarius Max is always careful about what he does.
Right. So if they're already atlas, then you're not going to see a great benefit because it's effectively already been atlas, right? If just take a look at them.
Hang on, let me do that one. Let me do clear all entries and extract.
So yeah, it looks like he's like click on one of those textures, see if it's a big texture page. Or do they just all have the same? Oh, it's a tiling brick. Okay. So are all these pieces basically using the same 3? I mean, they have 3 materials, right?
Hang on. I'm gonna just chuck everything in. That's how I'm gonna roll.
Might take a little while.
Of course not. You did this in
Might
2
fail
days.
spectacularly.
Right. We're gonna have to do some raffling. People came in for the raffles, and they just got stuck with us talking.
Yeah, I think I gave you some terrain collection, which is a nice package of stuff. That's basically like all of the micro splat stuff.
Yeah, you gave me the like 80s. I think it's 80 something quid. It's on the asset store.
Yeah, I don't know what it is in your money, but
in the Queen's money. So, if somebody wants to do an exclamation mark microsplat. All right, so now I'm going to do this combine. And look, it's doing it quick. Oh, Guild, I'll beat you to it, San. You're too slow. Now, I haven't done the lighting in this scene, okay, before anyone says anything.
yeah,
We just
I'll
literally...
be amazed if this actually works. Because I'm sure you've got some trees in there or something that end up being...
Oh, thank you for the bitty. Well, I didn't get any errors.
Yeah, click on one of the objects.
All right.
See if it now... Does it have the material that
OneBatch standard. OneBatch standards.
Yep.
Holy moly. Let's do this.
Now, it may not reduce the draw calls much because you don't have a high material count, right? There were only 5 materials in use. But, the other thing that's a little bonus I stuck in there is parallax seclusion mapping on the OneBatch standard shader. So you could actually like turn that up.
Hang on. What do I do?
Select the OneBatch shader the material that it wrote.
The material or the config?
The material.
Okay. Where did it save it?
I tell you what.
It should be wherever your config was.
Ah, okay. Wow. Yeah, I see them all in here. Thank you for the
select
follow.
material. And there should be an option for parallax seclusion mapping on there.
Where are you?
Let me just look. Oh, you would need height maps for it. I bet they don't have height maps. Yeah, it says parallax mode, it says offset. Yeah, we need height maps for it. Oh, wow.
Never mind.
That's just a little bonus I threw in for fun, because parallax seclusion mapping is, can look really good.
Well, I didn't break it, did I?
Yeah, so it basically went and it combined all. I mean, unfortunately, this scene was well, fortunately, it was optimized, right?
Well, that's the thing. I chose the
it-
one developer who does high quality work. I should have found
Well, that's what
somebody.
you want.
Yeah.
That's what you want, right? But the scene I was in had hundreds of textures and materials that were all unique. And when you're kit bashing from a bunch of different asset store stuff, that can happen. We probably saved a few draw calls here, but not as much as
Actually, we went
would've
from
if,
500 when I was looking at 1-bit down to about 300.
that's significant if it's all from that.
Yeah, could be. Well, it might not be, but
It might not be.
But-
you
but-
really got to have the exact same view to test.
so when can I start using OneBatch with custom shaders like the amplify shaders stuff?
So there's actually 2 shader functions in there. One that will give you it will give you the texture index so that you can sample, like it'll let you sample from the texture array directly, so you can get the texture for your particular mesh. And then there's another function in there which will give you the per texture properties. So like if you converted this from a standard shader,
Mhm.
right, then it will give you all those properties that you would normally have on your material so that you can link them in however you want. So, it will extract. The problem I have with this is I can't really abstract from an arbitrary shader, right? Because who knows what you're doing in the shader, right? But I can extract the textures fine, but I can't, reproduce an arbitrary shader without modifying your source shader.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But if you did have a shader that say, hey, look, I've built this and half my game's built on this shader that I custom did, then you could modify that custom shader the same way I've modified the standard shader. And if you built stuff in Amplify and you're okay with like, hey, it's somewhat similar to the standard shader, but I just wanted to add, I wanted to add this extra technique or have a extra thing in here for whatever reason, then you could convert it from the standard shader and basically use those nodes to roll a custom shader that reads that data.
And that's the other thing that nobody really knows about you. You're a accomplished musician.
Yeah, I went to music school, actually. I didn't go to school for computers.
So that's where that's where the whole Guitar Hero rock band thing came from.
Well, I mean, sort of. So, like, Harmonix had been started with the idea that they were going to bring the joy of playing music to non-musicians.
Mm.
And when I was at Turbine, they started while I was in Turbine, and we were both in the same area, and I'd heard of those guys, and people kept telling me, like, you got to go talk to those guys, like, they totally love you. And it was like this thing that just never happened. And then things started getting rocky at Turbine, and I kind of wanted to get out of there, and so I went over and talked to those guys, and we hit it off right away. And they'd been making music games like Frequency and Amplitude for a while. And right around that time was when we started on Guitar Hero. And so, it wasn't so much that it was like, oh, that's where I got the idea. It was like, no, it was going to happen either way. I just joined the team and I think I was in the second or third month that we were working on it. And then, but yeah, I fit that, that crew very well because they were all musicians and coders and who loved music. And so that whole company played music in bands. And that's why the first Guitar Hero game has I think it has 15 songs on it that are from bands, and all of them except for 2 are bands that are actually Harmonix people.
I tell you what.
So
let's have one more.
Big company full of musicians. It was a fun place to work.
Do you miss those days?
I mean, yes and no. It's like
mistakes.
it's like at every
We have
company.
happy
There's an
accidents.
arc where it's a certain thing, and then the company starts to change. And I caught a really amazing arc.
Yeah.
Even beyond the success, like the early years of Harmonix, when I was there, were very creatively driven, and there were no designers at the company.
Really?
It was all just like groups of people trying to figure out how to do stuff. And that kind of created this I think it really created this feeling that everybody was, had to think about the design, and everybody had to figure out how things were going to work. It wasn't like, oh, that guy over there is going to figure out how it works and then I'm going to implement it. It was very team oriented, and they had a lot of very, very smart people who, would just take things to this level that you just would not expect. Like the guy who wrote the beat matching code there worked on that code as his primary code base for 16 years.
Wow.
And so, you were never going to find anybody who understood the problem space better than he did. You know what I mean? And there was a guy I worked with, James Fleming, who I learned a ton from. Really amazing coder, like, tear apart a million lines of code in a weekend. But very, he got really into like the latency management and how to get the frame time really down so that the response time would be good, and built like hardware to measure, latency times of HDTVs so that, which ended up actually being embedded into the guitars so that you lift up the guitar and it measures the latency on your HDTV, right? So it's just like a very, a cool crew of people trying to do things that they had no idea whether it was going to work.
Sounds like a great university to go to.
It was, and it's interesting because I was before I got there, and I switched over to coding. I sort of started coding about 2 years before that, and then kind of came in there and then learned to code there in a lot of ways. So they were very good to me, just letting me do what seemed like was interesting or what I felt like I should be doing, and so it very much structured kind of like a think tank, or like you imagine these like places to be. And then a lot of companies really aren't like, they're really controlled and sort of like schedule, and Harmonix was very like, we just want to make this one thing really work, and if we can get this one thing to work, then everything else will fall into place. And everybody would just focus on that one thing, and they had people that would really help you focus on that one thing. I got to spend like a year, figuring out how to animate drummers, and procedurally animated drummers that could play the. And when you think about drumming, it's like, well, you got to hit all these notes, right? But you also have to like move to the music, and you have to look at the musicians. There's all kinds of stuff going on in your spine, and so we built like a whole procedural animation system around that, and you just it's really unique challenges you just would never have gotten anywhere else. So that's what made it really fun.
Oh man,
we don't make mistakes. We have happy accidents.
Dankeschön with the Twitch Prime. Dankeschön. Welcome to the family. Jace, it's always a pleasure. I can't believe it's been nearly a year since you were last on. It has. It's been nearly a year, mate. I think it's been about 10 months.
Well, we don't make mistakes.
I'm sure my marketing department is setting up all kinds of stuff like this. So,
for those in chat, I was chatting to Jace. Was it yesterday, day before? And I was like, and you were saying like, here's keys and here's for OneBatch, and I'm like, because you said OneBatch, and I was like, what, one batch of keys? What's OneBatch? And you're like, my marketing department have done a really good job. So, do you have a marketing department, or is it your kids? Are your kids your marketing department?
No, I am, and I just don't do anything.
Just spat my beer out everywhere.
I like stick it up on the acid store. If I'm lucky, I'll make some nice images for it. If I'm lucky. I actually have a mesh mod for Splat that makes it work on meshes, and you can paint on meshes, and you can blend with the materials, that are already there on the mesh and everything. And it's been sitting in my depot for 8 months because I haven't gotten around to making the images for it.
You need to expand your team, buddy.
I just need some beta testers who are like, yeah, I'm going to go paint some stuff with this and send you the images.
Well, if you make yourself a little bit more active on your Discord, I don't know, have like a beta group or something, you've got enough people out there who love your work. Like, no, I'm just reading chat because I'm bad at reading chat. Tor Zvestegard, a Scandinavian friend, has said, I had the privilege of speaking to Jason and seeing his talk at Unite Austin. Dude really knows what he's doing. Microsplat is an amazing piece of work. So you've got people like Tor out there, right? And these people obviously love your work. They love meeting you. You did an amazing talk at Unite Austin. Come on, dude. You need beta
Well,
testers. You need people out there.
If somebody wants to test the mesh module and can paint some really cool stuff with it and show off what it can do, I'll give them access. And basically, it just allows you to use all of the, or most of the microsplat features on meshes, and it's got a painter and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, maybe I'll get around to releasing it. It has stuff for like converting terrains to meshes and stuff too. But I have plenty of pictures of pretty terrain. So I need somebody like you, like I'm how this or whatever,
Send me a message on the Discord with the link to. Do you have a Discord channel?
I do.
Send me because it was like, dude, you haven't joined my Discord. I haven't actually joined your Discord either, it seems. So
yeah, see how that goes.
Yeah, okay. Send me a link to your Discord, all right?
How can I do that? Is there a way to like copy it or something?
Yeah. You right click on one of your channels and you do instant invite.
Ah.
Right.
Oh, I see you.
Yeah, and
Okay.
then you send that to me, right? Brilliant.
Okay, there we go.
Now you see in my chat, Sanyo did !Discord, and he's pasted in there the link to my Discord. Yeah.
Right.
You need to click that because you still haven't joined my one.
What do you mean? I'm in your Discord. I just posted in your Discord.
Did you join it now? Because you weren't in it earlier. Okay, you're in there. I forgive you then.
I just posted my my thing.
Yeah. Okay, you're good. You're in.
All right.
Yeah, I forgive you.
All right, well, I'm gonna get out of here because there's a party starting at my house. So
There's a link to everyone in chat for Jace's Discord. Help him out. He needs some love. He needs beta testers. He needs people to paint pretty things for him. Jace, thank you so much. It's always a pleasure, pal.
All right. Thanks. I'll talk to you soon.
Catch you later, buddy. Well, that was it for another live dev interview. I hope you had fun and enjoyed yourselves. You too can take part if you pop over every Fridays and Saturdays at allthews.twitch.tv/themessycoder 9 PM GMT time. If you want to know what it is in your time zone, use Google. So don't forget to tell all your friends and neighbours. If you do like it, click it. Till next time. If you want to see more of my crazy videos, click on the left side of your screen now. And down below, there's that big juicy subscribe button. And right next to it is the magic bell that if you click it, it will tell you if I've got a new video coming out. Till next time.